Hello and welcome to the Cardinal Network, the official online platform for covering all things related to Pompton Lakes High School and beyond. My name is Sarah Balfour, and today we are extremely fortunate to be spending time with Mayor Michael Serra, a longtime resident of Pompton Lakes, a research scientist, father of three, wildlife enthusiast, and participant of martial arts of judo for 50 years. However, most of you will recognize him as Mayor of Pompton Lakes, a term that will be in action until December 31st, 2023. Welcome to the Cardinal Network, Mayor Serra.
Hi, how is everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Everybody surviving home, locked in their houses?
Yes.
Barely.
Barely, yes. Okay.
Hi, Mayor Serra. My name is Stephanie Widobro, and my first question for you is, how did you get into politics, and what do you attribute to helping you prepare for becoming mayor?
Well, it's an interesting story. A lot of you might know I used to run soccer for a long time in town, and I realized that our kids didn't have any soccer fields. So I decided I wanted to build some soccer fields on my own. And I got some friends together, and we started digging a soccer field in the back. And all of a sudden, the police knocked on my door and said, "What are you doing? You can't just build a soccer field without telling us." So I said, "What do I need to do?" And they said, "You have to go to town council, ask their permission, speak with the mayor. There's a lot of steps involved." I said, "Okay, then that's what I'll do." And I did that for about a year. I said it would be easier for me if I was on town council. So I ran for town council, and I was fortunate enough to win. And I was able to build the project that I wanted, which most of you know is Willow Field. That was something that I started and built with the help of a lot of people.
And what inspired you to run for mayor of Pompton Lakes?
Well, in that same philosophy, when I was a councilman for 6 years, I was able to build the soccer fields. And, there was some more things I wanted to do. And I had the opportunity, and a couple people had asked me if you'd be interested in running for mayor. At the time I was, and there was some more things I would like to finish, including developing the whole Joe Grill complex a little bigger and helping out with the teen center and things like that. So I said I would. And, there's a lot involved when you run for mayor. You have to, of course, get into a race against somebody and campaign. And I was fortunate enough to win that also. So I appreciate the fact that I was supported by my friends and a lot of the parents in town.
And when you are not working as active mayor of Pompton Lakes, what do you do in your spare time?
Well, right now I don't have a lot of spare time because it's a very busy time. But when it's normal situations, I enjoy the outdoors. I was a park ranger at Bear Mountain for a couple of years before I became a research scientist. So I've always enjoyed animals. I had the fortunate times when I was a scientist to work with primates, monkeys for 35 years. So I've always enjoyed the outside and working with animals. Like was mentioned before, I've enjoyed doing martial arts for a very long time, for 50 years. I had my own martial arts studio for about 15 years. So that keeps me busy, of course, with my family and everything else that goes along with that.
That's amazing. And my name is Madison Skibicki, and I know that perhaps no experience, personally or professionally, could have prepared any of us for what we have experienced with COVID-19. As mayor, how have your responsibilities changed over the past couple of months?
That's a great question because there's a lot has changed in the last couple of months. We went from no idea what was going on to complete immersed into this whole thing. And unfortunately, my first concerns are for residents who lost their jobs and for families that are looking to keep money coming into their houses. That's very important to me. Of course, our downtown support our businesses. We have to keep our businesses going through this tough time. I have two educators here that some of you might know that are teachers there at Pompton Lakes High School. To educate you guys is very important. And I got to say the school was prepared for this, and I think they did a good job. I am on conference calls with the mayors of Passaic County 3 times a week, and some towns are doing very well with the homeschooling and some towns are not. So I think you guys did a good job in preparing for that. And the same thing when it comes to the borough. We have to make sure we can move forward in the things that we have to do, which is collecting taxes, unfortunately. And in tough times when people aren't making money, it's a tough time to collect taxes. But that's how people get paid, and that's how our police, fire, teachers get paid. So, it's a big circle. Everything's connected.
And would you say there are new challenges that you have faced as mayor since this experience with COVID-19?
Yeah, not meeting people in person is tough. We have a lot of meetings. I used to be out most nights in meetings, and now I can't do that. I have to do what I'm doing now with the Zoom, which, as you guys I'm sure are well aware, Zoom works great, but it's nothing like being in person and discussing meetings. When we have meetings when there's plans involved and things have to go up on a screen, it's very difficult to do that with Zoom. So that's one of the challenges. Also dealing with my police departments, my fire department, my EMS. It's tough to do that by phone or by Zoom. We have a lot of situations that pop up in town naturally, and they're on call just like me all the time to handle those things.
Yeah, and that being said, I know a small town relies heavily on its people, and Pompton Lakes is no exception. So can you touch on what the first responders have meant to the Pompton Lakes community?
I can't say enough about the first responders. You know, they're putting their lives on their hands every time they go to work for our safety. They all have families, they all have children, they all have mothers, grandmothers, all living in their homes, and they have to go back home not knowing if they brought this virus back with them to their houses. It's very difficult for them. We've taken every precaution, and where we've gotten hotel rooms if they feel that they're nervous about going back to their homes. We have had some officers come down with it. We've been fortunate at our fire department. We did lose an EMS worker who was not an EMS worker for here in Pompton Lakes, but was a young gentleman, 24 years old, was an EMS worker out of Englewood, lived in Pompton Lakes, and he lost his battle with coronavirus. So, you know, it affects everyone, and it doesn't matter who you are. And it's scary, and it's scary for these people to have to think about that every time they go to work.
So what are some foreseeable challenges that you might anticipate in the future?
Some of the issues we're going to have is we have to bring our downtown back to where it was. We were starting to really grow. You know, I'm a big supporter of the redevelopment that's been happening. That's right there near the high school. We just opened up that complex and already got people in. And a lot of the businesses downtown were very excited about bringing new people in to shop and use our downtown. And now it's put a tough spot on these people. These people still have to pay their rent. They still have to pay their mortgages, and they have no money coming in. So our first priority is going to try to get these businesses up and running. And I put out a memo to the residents twice a week, and I've always mentioned in that memo, let's try to do as best we can and support our businesses now because they really do need us. And if we lose them, they might not come back. So that's a big priority for us right now.
Hi, Mayor Serra. I'm Jenna Cheriak. And looking back on your career as mayor so far, what are you most proud of and why?
That's a tough question. You know, I really enjoy meeting people and helping people, and that's why I got into this. You know, the idea that people can ask me to help them do something and maybe I can get them to help is a big part of why I do this. But if I had to pick a project, you know, I'm a big fan of the redevelopment. If we can get some new apartments in town that look nice, that have gyms and media rooms and people want to come live, it'll make our businesses downtown. It'll make more people in town help pay the burden of taxes. It'll help stabilize our tax base, which I'm very proud of, that I've been involved now for 10 years. We haven't really raised our taxes a great deal. That's huge to the residents that live here because taxes are a huge cost to people. And of course, recreation is always important to me. And I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to build the Willow Field Complex and the Joe Grill Complex, which we will be adding more. Just this year, we were in the process until the virus hit of doing some more work down there. We were going to put a walking path around there and some new baseball fields. So we're trying to grow that into a really nice complex. And you guys are way too young, but if you used to go back there 15 years ago, it was just 2 baseball fields and no soccer fields. That's all that was down there, and that's what we called our complex. So from where we came from to where we are now, it's a big improvement.
And what plans do you have for Pompton Lakes in the future?
Well, like I mentioned, you know, we still have some big ideas for redevelopment with some nice apartment buildings with restaurants and bars on the bottom, which will then entice more businesses to come downtown. Downtown businesses are a tough sell right now, not just here in New Jersey, but in the whole country, because unfortunately, a lot of people go to what we call the box stores on the highways instead of supporting their local businesses. And that's a hard thing to fight against. So we're trying to reinvent ourselves. We're trying to bring in young people, young workers, people right out of college who are looking to maybe have a nice apartment to live in, but they don't have to have a mortgage and pay taxes at the time. And they're usually what we call a walking wallet, and they'll walk around shopping at our restaurants and bars and boutiques. And we hope to grow from that. So, you know, we were in the process of just starting it, and it's taken a very long time. We've taken 5 to 6 years to get our first project. I think the first project came out very nice. It was supposed to model the high school and the way it looks, and I think it does. And we had another project on the horizon, but that had to slow down now because of the virus.
Okay, and lastly, for the citizens of Pompton Lakes watching, is there a message you would like to give them?
Look, we're all in this together. Everybody, you know, has to remind, I think you guys talked about it a lot about the first responders. We're all first responders in some way because we're all part of this. We're all going to get through this together. There's nobody who's fighting this on their own. And if anybody has any issues or problems in town, we're here to help them in any way we can. You know, even if that means reaching out to other people who can help them. I've had some people have some situations where I couldn't get them help or answers, but I've reached out to the state or even federally and tried to help them. You know, one thing people don't realize, the federal government has given our county $87 million just to fight the coronavirus right now. That's a huge number. And that money is being used to offset the costs that we have to put out every day to help fight this virus with police and fire and special things you need to purchase. So it's all the way up to the president and all the way down to Little Pompton Lakes and how we're going to make this work. So my biggest message would be, if anybody needs help in any way or form, they can call Town Hall, call the police department. This is a giving community, a volunteering community. Someone's always going to be there to help and give them a hand.
Now, other members of our class will be asking you a few questions as well.
Okay.
You have a question?
Yes, I do. Okay, so my question is, I understand that for the rest of the school year, we're not going to be in school physically anymore, but do you think
that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Personally bad, but for some people might be enjoying it. Are we going to have anything, like any ceremonies? I don't know if you know, but if you do, are we going to have anything for prom or graduation or anything to make it up to like seniors and just keep the tradition alive?
It's a good question, and I've been in communication with a bunch of other towns and other situations, and some good ideas I think are coming out of the pipeline, what some towns might be doing, and I hope that maybe our Board of Education and our superintendent, and I'm sure they will because they support this idea. We'll be looking into what they can do to make it work. You know, we have to do the social distancing. It's unfortunate. It is what it is, but there might be some ways around things to do things. I feel bad for all those seniors. You know, those people are being deprived of something that every other person got. So I would gladly support that. That being said, I've been asked numerous times about these drive-by parties and drive-by things at homes. I've instructed my police, fire, and first aid not to take part in those, only because our time is so valuable for these guys. They're doing a lot of things, and we just can't add another thing to their table right now. They're working 2 drive-bys because there will be one going every 10 minutes. I'm not stopping them. I support them, but I can't throw my manpower into them right now. But I would hope that the Board of Ed does do something, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now for one final question. Joe?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to ask, what kind of guidelines are being set to the businesses in town, you know, maybe down the road when they reopen? Are there going to be any kind of special guidelines to follow going forward?
Yeah, you know, that's going to come from the state, and that's the unfortunate part. You know, it's been taken out of our hands here locally. But what we're seeing from a lot of other states that have already started, you know, take a restaurant, for example, there might be 25% occupancy allowed inside at one time, and maybe a 6 feet of separation, disposable menus. Everyone would have to be masked and gloved for a while. That sounds like a great idea for a nice-sized restaurant, but you take a place like Mr. Sushi or a smaller restaurant like that only sits 25 people, 25% is only 4 or 5 people. How can they make a business run on 4 or 5 people? They would have to do a great takeout. So there is a lot of problems on how it's going. We're going to follow the state guidelines. I just recently opened up the tennis courts and dog parks because we've had them closed. After speaking to some mayors and some other politicians locally, they've started slowly opening those things. So we're going to monitor them. I have a police member down there monitoring them. And I will say, most of our residents are following the guidelines and doing what they're supposed to do. If we start to see crowds and we start to see a bunch of people, unfortunately, we'll have to close those things down. But I have confidence, especially in our Pompton Lakes residents, that they'll do the right thing.
Some of it's out of your control, but you do what you can do. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
That appears to be all the time we have for today. Before we go, on behalf of the Cardinal Network, we would like to thank Mayor Michael Serra for taking the time out of his schedule to be with us and answer our questions. Until next time, I'm Sarah Balfour, signing off.